the Software Showcase. I am Mark Stedman, Vice President of Information Technology, and we're coming to you today from our studios here on the campus of Wycliffe Associates in sunny Orlando, Florida. And joining me as always in the studio is our team's project manager and all-around great guy, Glenn Oliver.
Oh, thank you. Mark, our leader and mentor extraordinaire.
Well, Glenn, it's great to be here with you, and I'm really excited to do another brief update here on some things that we did at the Hackathon. So today we're going to talk about handwriting recognition.
Right. So I think before we can get in there, we probably need to talk about what a translation typically looks like. We've often come to you and talking about software that we've done to help and enable and make the process faster. But I think the reality still is in the field that a majority of translations either start or at some point are relying on somebody just pulling out a pen and paper and starting drafting material.
Yeah, and this may be unique to Wycliffe Associates and sort of the way that we approach Bible translation from a church-owned Bible translation perspective, in that the people who are doing Bible translation, they just may not type, or they may not even really be comfortable using technology in the translation process. So I learned about a year ago that a tremendous amount of translation is done on yellow pads and pencil and pen. But then we learned what an impediment that is to actually moving the translations forward. So
Right.
a lot of times what ends up happening is a tremendous amount of translation is done at a translation event, and then later somebody takes all of that and transcribes it in the computer.
Right, and that person who is transcribing it may or may not be the person that speaks that tongue.
That's right.
Maybe it's somebody that is literally unfamiliar with the language and is just trying to copy and recognize the characters, and therefore kind of makes the process potentially error-prone, needs to be checked, always does, but also slows it way down.
Yeah.
And so that helped us to identify right away, there's an area here that if we could have a solution, we could increase the speed of those translations getting digitized and moving along the checking process.
Yeah, so not to be glib, but of course AI is going to solve all the problems, or at least that's what I've been told. So we thought, hey, I wonder if AI can do handwriting recognition. Now, there's been attempts at handwriting recognition for a long time, but they've typically required things like taking a document and dividing it up into lines and just various things that have made that less workable than it is today. So we did some initial proof testing and found actually you can take a scanned sheet and feed it into something like ChatGPT or Pixel or some of the other models that are out there, and they can do an amazing job of actually identifying the handwriting and figuring out what it's saying. And I think what's even more amazing is that it doesn't require us to train it. So kind of old school machine learning would require you to, hey, fill out this page with how you write, write A 10 times and write B 10 times, and it would try to train it that way. Well, the models have been exposed to so much already that we don't have to train any of them. We took some handwriting samples in English, and we got 100% accuracy on cursive, block printing, no matter what. Now, it does get a little bit more tricky when it's not English, of course, because the LLM has to have some exposure to that language. Mm-hmm. So it's not perfect, we know that. But we have seen some ways to improve our results, and we're really excited about being able to go out to the field and do some testing at an event and see if we can actually shorten that feedback cycle. Take those pages, get them digitized, and then put them right back in front of the translator the next day and say, hey, here's what we got typed up versus what you wrote, and how does that look?
Yeah, and this ties back to that theme of the hackathon as well. Once upon a time, we've maybe all aware of like the OCR, optical character recognition sets, but often more than not, that system would be training you to write how it likes to see that.
Right.
And so to Mark's point, this is something where we don't really need to train a bunch of people. So during the hackathon, we tested this out with the room. Now we have a bunch of technologists, and if you ever saw us write on a page, you'd recognize, wow, never try to write something down for instructions for me ever again.
There's a reason we type.
Yes, exactly. So we actually had a number of people do that. Same script, bunch of different handwritings, and being able to analyze that on something that was not English whatsoever. However, I will say that we made sure that it was a Roman script that we were dealing with.
Yep.
So I think that's sort of kind of our next steps as well, is to continue looking at that area and looking at other scripts and seeing how much we can bring in and still retain that high degree of accuracy.
Yeah, I'm really excited because some of the data we got back on how long it takes to transcribe handwritten pages when transcribed by hands, particularly by a person who doesn't speak the language and was not one of the translators, the time it's substantial. Like it can be up to an hour a page or even longer, which was really surprising to me because I type pretty quickly, and I thought, oh, it's probably 5 minutes a page or maybe 10, and so we might get it down to half of that or something. But it actually has the potential to be a massive leap in productivity, and I'm particularly excited about being able to put the transcriptions right back in front of the translators for them to correct and say, no, that's not what I meant to write. And so having that immediate feedback loop should be really good. So the hope, Glenn, is that we're going to be testing this in the field before the end of the year.
Yeah, and our dream would be to be able to provide a solution that people could actually do that pen and paper and digitize it through this process while at the event, maybe in that same day of,
Yeah.
so that there's no time wasted whatsoever.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we would love to see at the end of the event all of the scripture that's been translated has already been digitized and is ready to go into the next phases. So.
Yep. Always to be checked. There's always the next step.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we're excited about that. So anyway, that's it for this update. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. It really does help us if you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you watching, and we look forward to coming back to you again soon.